Talk to me about Peter Dutton's challenge in opposition. You know that better than anyone else. When you became leader in 2009, the Liberal Party was pretty demoralised. That had three leaders in 2 and a bit years. You were the third. 6 months after you were elected leader, you faced Julia Gillard in an election and it was a draw. She won the negotiation and formed that hung parliament, formed that government, minority government. But just on a question that's already there on the table for Peter Dutton, some of his colleagues, Andrew Bragg's a notable moderate out there in the media, saying now that Labor has won, the Liberal Party must roll over and support Labor's 43% emissions target by 2030. Others say if you do that, you break faith with those who stuck by you at the election. What's your view?
Well, we have a mandate from 36% of the electorate. Labor only has a mandate from 33% of the electorate. So I think that we should stick with the position that we took to the election, which fundamentally is that, yes, we want to get emissions down, but not if it costs jobs and drives up people's cost of living. And if we do want to get emissions down, it's important to use existing technology, such as a consideration of nuclear, rather than chasing after what may well turn out to be pipe dreams, such as green hydrogen. So, look, it's very important that politics is a contest. You don't win arguments by agreeing with your opponents. You win arguments by creating a contest where you think you've got the arguments on your side. And I know Peter Dutton very well. He's a terrific bloke. I think he certainly can win the next election. And I'm very encouraged by the fact that his senior colleagues will, I am sure, give him the loyalty that the party leader deserves.
Just before we go, I've got to ask you about this voice to the parliament. Some people say that you supported constitutional change in the past, that you now support putting this voice in the constitution. What's your view? That's very different than when I worked with you.
Yeah, well, Peter, look, I'm very sceptical about a separate, constitutionally entrenched voice to the parliament. I think Peter Dutton is right to ask the government to put forward its ideas, but in the end, if we want to take race out of our constitution, it's hard to do that if there is a constitutionally entrenched race-based element in the Constitution. Now, I have indeed always or long supported some form of Indigenous recognition, and what I was moving towards back in 2015 but never really had the chance to develop was putting into the Constitution, perhaps into the preamble, a statement which is true about our country and which includes everyone, which is that we've got an Indigenous heritage, a British foundation and an immigrant character. I think that's actually a pretty good way of describing our country. We have an Indigenous heritage, a British foundation, an immigrant character, and maybe one day in the years to come, when people from overseas ask Australians to describe our country, they can simply say that.
All right, so no voice in the Constitution and no treaty, Tony Abbott.
Look, you can't make a treaty with yourselves, and the best voice to the Parliament for Indigenous people is going to be provided by the 10 Indigenous people who are actually in the Parliament.
All right, I'll leave it there. Tony Abbott, thank you for your time. Appreciate you being very generous with us tonight.